Hello everyone, welcome to 2025. Welcome to the Ferrari Challenge North America for another stunning season in prospect. Here we are in the Napa Valley of California at the Sonoma Raceway for race one of the weekend to come. And of course, qualifying to come first of all. This is effectively round one of what is going to be a superb calendar. We're here in Sonoma, but we're doing plenty of traveling, as the calendar now will reveal, because from here we go to the Daytona International Speedway. Then, what a novelty, the Miami Autodrome, ahead of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen International, Laguna Seca in September. And then, of course, in October, we head to the Mugello Finale Mondiale event, which will effectively be round 7 of our fantastic calendar for 2025. So good look at Sonoma here then. It is a truly amazing circuit. So pleased that we are here again. Here is exactly what it looks like from a graphics point of view. 2.52 miles, that's 4 kilometers, as near as makes no difference. And there are exactly 12 turns. 6 of them left-handers, 6 of them right-handers. And bear in mind, a number of the turns are negative camber, so off camber, where the inside of the turn is higher than the outside. It's a real test for our Ferrari Challenge drivers, whether Trofeo Pirelli or Coppa Shell drivers. And those drivers that we're going to see out first for the qualifying session this morning are going to be our Pirelli AM drivers, a number of returning drivers, and a number of new drivers to take to the track across the course of this weekend as well. I'm delighted to say alongside me is a dear friend and great voice, Andrew Coley. Welcome to the Ferrari Challenge.
Dave, thank you so much, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's my first time with Ferrari Challenge North America. I've been in motorsport for 25 years and broadcasting for 15, but delighted to be involved with such an iconic brand. And I'll tell you what, mate, when you come to a circuit like this, you do think to yourself, well, this is definitely going to be a fun year. It's wonderful. The atmosphere is brilliant. Everyone's so friendly down in the paddock, and we're going to get to it on track. I think, won't be quite so friendly when they're out on circuit, but what a wonderful series. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I have to say, when they design the calendar, it's like they every year they pull a rabbit out of a hat. It's a magical calendar. Andrew, not only one of the new voices that you'll get to hear across the course of this weekend, but also delighted to say that down in the pit lane for us, Nina Jade Paul, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dave and Andrew. It's an absolute honour to be here with Ferrari Challenge for the first time, and I'm sure this season opener at Sonoma Raceway will not disappoint. Here we are in the beautiful wine country region of California, and this circuit is absolutely stunning. It's a short track, only 12 corners, but my goodness me, does it still pack a punch. And that is due to its significant elevation changes, high speed sections, tight corners. It's a demanding circuit, and it's going to demand a lot out of our drivers today. I cannot wait to see how they tackle it.
And we're going to be so reliant on you, Nina Jade, to bring us all the inside information, all the goss, because of course, being down in the pit lane, she'll know what the engineers and the coaches are telling our drivers to max out what they can do in this qualifying session. Andrew, short, sharp qualifying session, just 12 minutes. It's quite an abrasive circuit here at Sonoma. Tyre longevity is critical. The tyres they qualify on be the tyres that they race on. Therefore, every driver's ambition or aspiration is to get out there, nail a hot lap, park a car.
It is. So you guys were here last year, August time. The temperatures were much higher. And talking to some of the coaches and the drivers, they do think they're going to be able to get more than that one golden lap run out. So it takes about 3 laps to get the tyres up to temperature. You might see them do a recce, come in, and then a reset on those tyre pressures to get them just where they want them. And then, as you say, normally lap 3 is your golden lap. But because temperatures are a bit lower this time of year in California, the coaches were saying yesterday that we think
screen, but as soon as we do, we will bring those to you. Love this exit of the what I call the stadium section here at Sonoma, and here we can see the car number 26, and that is last year's Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell champion Eric Marston. Elevated up to Trofeo Pirelli AM last year, richly deserved championship win for the Ferrari Westlake driver last year. He'd been threatening, and last year he did the deed and actually confirmed himself as Coppa Shell champion. Richly deserved, lives relatively just down the road, and he's very much looking forward to seeing what he can do now in amongst a truly competitive pack of cars in Trofeo Pirelli AM that we have got this year. So looking at the cars as they make their way around, then plenty of drivers. Eric Pan is another one of those. Now, this is one of the dealer names I love saying, Ferrari Beverly Hills.
That's a very cool dealer name. Eric Pan in the first proper official section here was way up. He was the fastest of the Pirelli AM drivers and was right up at about P6 or P7. I'll find the session results and have a look where he was exactly. Sorry, P5. Fantastic result. Not quite so far up in the other sessions, but just goes to show the pace is definitely there. I think it's worth noting as well that the drivers have been here last weekend for an official test, and then again they've had 9 or 10 sessions during the course of this week, and then 3 officially timed practice sessions in the run yesterday, basically.
And what's really noteworthy of Eric Pan's pace in those 3 practice sessions, and except that it is only practice, he was in amongst the top 8 of the Pirelli drivers as well. So we've got 4 Pirelli drivers ahead of him, 4 Pirelli drivers behind him. But in terms of an AM driver, he was really out on his own. I think the next best, if memory serves me, was Sebastian Mascaro, who was second fastest within class. And, well, there tells the story. Eric Pan is going quickest at the moment, and he's posted a time of 1:36.7.693. Followed by Eric Marston. Then it's Gedas Venslovas, who is P3 at the moment. Then Ray Acosta, Ofer Levy, then it's Chung, then it's Horsch. They are the top 7, and Brad Valva has just gone into P6.
There's some 5 seconds at the minute off the pace they were doing in the free practice sessions earlier this week. Yeah, it's very cold, and this is what we were saying about. It's crucial to get those Pirelli tyres up to temperature. You go too early, and obviously you can risk an off in terms of you can go off the track. That's an absolute nightmare. Dirty the tyres up flat spots when you've only got 1 set. You've got to measure how you use the tyres. I know, Dave, you said it, when it's really hot, we see drivers park it after their 1 attack lap on the 3rd lap, but they're coming up now to their 3rd laps, and I think we should see people start to push, and that's going to light the timing screen up for us.
Rob McWilliams just gone quickest with a 1:37.529. We're talking to margins of 1/10.5 at the moment. So what have we got? The first 3 drivers are all in the 1:37s, Andrew?
Yeah, it's interesting as well. Of course, the free practice sessions were at a different time of day, Dave, so it may be that there isn't much more lap time in it. Even with the tyres warm, they may not go much quicker. But that goes to show there might be as much as 5 seconds in terms of pace when we're racing this afternoon. Of course, the race temperatures will be hotter than the qualifying temperatures in the morning.
Eric Pan has just found, I mean, they're obviously now finding the sweet spot, because Eric Pan has taken a huge margin out. He's now posted a 1:31. We're now seeing Eric Marston with a 1:34. 3 drivers now in the 1:34s. Marston, Acosta, Venslovas, now Levy with a 1:32. So all of a sudden, that 5 seconds or so from the 1:37s we are seeing has been eroded, Andrew. Tyres up to temperature, everything coming together.
So yeah, we were asking, weren't we, was it going to be warm enough this morning, or is it an afternoon thing? And that's been emphatically answered there by Eric Pan, hasn't it? Look at the gap now. Okay, 2/10 it was a moment ago, 7/10. So Brad Forver is up into P2. For Ferrari of San Francisco. This is their home event, of course. We're just around a half hour from the Golden Gate Bridge in the Bay Area. Great driving. Well, other than a bit of traffic, and these guys have got less traffic on track than we had on the way to the track, but it's such an iconic location, isn't it? It really is a pleasure to drive to this circuit and on it.
Absolutely. So, looking at the number 22 car, Michael Porter then, Ferrari of Seattle. So Sebastian Mascaro now is dumped to P4. It is Eric Pan from Brad Falva from Ofer Levy, then Sebastian Mascaro. Who else would I expect to see right at the sharp end of this? And we've only got 5.5 minutes remaining of this. Well, this will be one of the drivers, I would suggest. And we will see what Ray Acosta can do as he completes this lap. Drives, of course, for the collection. Miami, Ray Acosta then rounds the stadium turn, as I like to call it, just in front of Casa Ferrari Hospitality here. He's about to break the beam that delineates the timing, and what does Ray Acosta do? He drops it in place. I built that nicely.
You did. He actually went quicker, but as he went quicker, so did somebody else. So yeah, he went up and down a place very quickly indeed, didn't he?
Here's Dave Musial then in car number 30, the Ferrari Lake Forest driver. I was talking to Dave yesterday. I said I'm going to try and do my best for you, Dave, this weekend. The reasons for which will become obvious. But Dave and, of course, his son, Dave Musial Jr., Dave 2.0, both racing. Lots of family affairs in the Ferrari Challenge, Andrew, which you'll get to notice and be part of. Gregory Hopkins is very much one of those, of course, because involved in that Carroll family, who we'll see in Coppa Shell. Dave Musial then, his best lap, 1:33.689 targets, 1:31s now, 2 drivers in the 1:31s, and they are Eric Pan and Brad Falver.
Tricky situation now if you've got any drivers who are thinking of winding it. You know, if somebody knows they've done a great lap and they're thinking they can't better it, they might come in early. I think it's unlikely, but you can come across slower traffic, and you don't need that. Well, certainly some of the drivers who've moved up to the Pirelli category from Shell were saying that that was one of their favourite things about moving up a category, although they now weren't on the pace, where they're at the front runners, of course, when they've won the entry-level categories, if you want to call it that. They've gone up into Pirelli, and suddenly they're saying, I'm not seeing any traffic, because the difference between the top and the bottom of the field here is 3-4 seconds,
yes.
Whereas the difference between the top and the bottom in the Shell category, where people are still getting their heads around racing at this level with Ferrari, it can be up to 15 seconds. So you can see a car once every 6 laps if you're a front runner and they're not. So you get a bit more of a clear track, a bit more of an opportunity to get in that perfect lap time in the Pirelli category.
Another factor to throw into this qualifying mix is the fact that track position, or grid position, is oh so important here at the Sonoma Raceway, Andrew, because overtaking opportunities, or legitimate overtaking opportunities, they're not plentiful here at Sonoma. There's 1, maybe 2 places where a good overtake is possible, and therefore the further up the grid you are, the more important it is, and it just means the less cars you've got to try and get past if you're languishing perhaps down there P9, P10 or whatever. So you've got all those cars to try and get by to get yourself right to the front of the pack. It's jolly hard work. It's
absolutely crucial to get a good quality here. You know, we talk about being a brilliant circuit, and this shot gives you a great idea of the elevation change. Look how steep it is downhill into this long right-hander. There's 2 corners which were described by my friend who used to work here as an instructor last night as tyre grinders, and one of them is this left-hander coming up now, the carousel. So it's a long dropping left-hander. You've got lock on the whole way through it, and the other one is the hairpin up at turn 11, which is actually one of those 2 overtaking opportunities. The other one, Dave, you want a good exit from carousel here, off to the left-hand side. That takes you off the drag strip and then down into the braking zone up at the far end of the track, and that's turn 7. So there would be an opportunity there. But of course, the closer matched you are to your competitor in front, the harder it is to pass them.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Rob McWilliams then, we see right now, he's currently P17. Will Rob be able to improve? Rob's son Ethan is going to be racing for the first time in Challenge this weekend, and Rob and Ethan, I should say, Ethan was racing in Club Challenge last year. I remember presenting a trophy to him on a track attack podium, so it's great to see the whole family enjoying the Ferrari Challenge. And here we can see Robert McWilliams then, the Boardwalk Ferrari driver. Now, Eric Pan is satisfied. Brad Falver is only 4 100ths behind him, but Eric Pan has parked the car in the pit lane, the Ferrari Beverly Hills driver. He feels that he's taken as much out of the car and the tyres that he possibly can. It's Brad Falver, Sebastian Mascara, good quali from Sebastian, Michael Mathis as well, very credit-worthy P4. Those are the front 2 effective rows in that particular Pirelli AM class at the moment.
Brad actually got within 0.046 of a second, so 46 hundredths of a second off the pace of Eric Pan, so got a lot closer. At one point that was up at 8 tenths when Eric smashed in that incredible lap. I think it was on lap 3 of the session, wasn't it, where we were expecting when the tyres come up to temperature. Tyre pressure absolutely critical with these cars. There's very little you can change in terms of setup. So they can't change their spring rates, they can't change their damping rates, they can change ride height, roll bars, camber and toe, basically. And we can go into a bit more detail on that later on in the day. But it changes the way the car feels. So some drivers like a really pointy front end, some drivers like it to push a bit when they get on the gas and feel a bit safer. And yeah, that's up to the coach and the driver and the engineer to work together to dial it in for them. But it's all about getting the temperature into those Pirellis and then making sure you do a good lap when you've got clear traffic and the temperature and the pressure is right.
Very interesting point you were making there about how the driver feels about how he likes the setup of the car.
Yeah.
It's absolutely critical, because if the driver is not comfortable inside the car, he's not going to deliver at his best. This is Sebastian Mascara then, the Ferrari of Central Florida driver, who is 3rd fastest. His best lap, a 1:32.197. The checkered flag's out on the session. Andrew, I don't think anyone is on a hot lap. I don't think anyone is looking like they're going to take that provisional pole away from Eric Pan. Of course, he'll be in possession of the Rotiform pole position award. Sebastian Mascara is one driver that could
P3,
do it.
I was thinking that as he comes up.
No, he's not.
No.
He's not even.
Doesn't improve.
No.
0.7 off the pole, so it's not a bad time.
No, really impressive from Sebastian Mascaro. Came into the Ferrari Challenge last year and had some very, very good results, to be fair. Really nice guy as well. Speaking to him at breakfast this morning along with his wife. So well done, Sebastian Mascaro. A second row class start for him.
Was it? I believe it was his wife who said that you've managed to start a new name, haven't you? So Sebastian has been known as Seb, Sebastian. It's been pronounced various different ways, and I believe you were quite enthusiastically pronouncing his name, Dave. Said it a little bit differently, and so now the family have got a new way of saying his name, haven't they?
Sebastian.
That's it. Yeah.
Gave him a bit of gravitas with the old voice,
Sebastian.
you know. It's one of the few things I've got left to offer anyone. There's Dave Musial out of the car then. Dave Musial, he will be out of position. He is a driver that will be needing to do some overtaking. And from effectively the 5th row of the grid. Now, I know as we drove from the airport here, I was telling you just how the drivers really, really get involved in the liveries of these cars. And I said, 2 of the ones that really stand out are the Musial cars. You just saw Dave Musial's. Every one of these, I mean, when you've got a blank canvas of a 296 Challenge to work with, gives you the opportunity to really extend your personality, if you will, to the colour schemes you choose for the car. Some are understated, others are really lively.
Skull and crossbones on the roof of that one there. So a bit of piracy going on somewhere on the grid. This is
Eric Marston offering congratulations to Eric Pan.
Very happy.
Of course, there is a huge camaraderie in the paddock here. Of course, when the Roberto Amorosi, you can see their team boss from Scuderia Corsa to the left-hand side of your picture. There is a huge camaraderie. There is also, of course, lots of competition when they're out there on the track. But as soon as the drivers' crash helmets come off again, the camaraderie is really, really nice. So that's something that you will enjoy in the Ferrari Challenge.
The atmosphere, it's been brilliant. It really has.
We'll bring you confirmation of the results in due course, and there we are. That's a great shot of the what I consider to be the stadium section of this Sonoma Raceway. It takes me back to the days of Plough Lane in London and Wimbledon Stadium. There you go. Just how old I am. Eric Pan did a good job for Ferrari Beverly Hills, and he has been accosted right now by Nina Jade Paul.
Eric Pan, congratulations. First pole of the season and you made that look easy. You put in that lap nice and early. How are you feeling? How was that session?
It was pretty good. I put everything together, peak at the right moment. I think I still got some time left in me tomorrow. Yeah, that's good to set up really early in the session, so it's good.
Good to know you still got some time left in you as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
And how important is pole position in terms of strategy at this track?
It's a really hard pass. You know, if you're stuck behind somebody, even if he's like 2 seconds slower than you, it's very hard to make a pass in this track. So I think pole is very important in this track in particular. Yeah.
Go well tomorrow. I hope you can convert it.
Yeah. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Thank you. Thanks.
He actually went 0.7 of a second quicker there, Dave, than he did in that brilliant free practice session where he was right up in P5. So he's pulled out a fantastic lap there, and he reckons he can go quicker.
Wow. Here is confirmation of the result then, Eric Pan. You just heard from him on 1:31.465 ahead of Brad Falver and Ofer Levy. Sebastian Mascaro, Michael Mathis, the next 4 drivers ahead of Ray Acosta, Michael Porter, and Harry Chung then banks a P8. Ahead of Eric Marston, not where he would want to be, nor David Musial, another one that's perhaps out of position from qualifying. And keep your eyes on Jay Logan, Dan Magnuszewski, Greg Hopkins, Frank Szczesniak, and Gerda Sven Slovas then in his first qualifying session in this category, P15, ahead of Robert McWilliams and John Horsch. That's the way the Trofeo Pirelli AM qualifying played out. We've got the Trofeo Pirelli qualifying to come as well. Eric Pan really, suggesting then how critical it is going to be with regards to track position, and that's why qualifying is so important as we go into the Frank Szczesniak car here. That's a great shot of the office, if you will, Andrew.
I love this bit of a day in any form of motorsport competition. You know, some drivers will completely ignore the camera, others are happy to give it a thumbs up. There are some that are really in the zone. And it's that final bit of nerves where you're just pulling on the fingers of the gloves a bit harder, just tugging down on those belts one last go before you really go for it.
Sorry, I'm laughing because exactly this happened to me in Europe.
Yeah.
And in the Ferrari Challenge Europe, and we were talking about the drivers as the guy with the RF camera, we call an RF camera because it works on a radio frequency. He was doing exactly the same shot as you just saw there with Frank Szczesniak, and he goes to a European driver called Tommy Lindroth. and he zooms in on Tommy. Tommy at that time had an open face crash helmet, and so he wanted to get the emotion of Tommy, which was deadpan, to be honest.
Brilliant.
And I'm talking and bigging up Tommy, and Tommy just goes to the camera with a gesture that was not particularly pleasant.
The
At which point,
old-fashioned victory salute.
I started laughing and couldn't stop laughing. So thanks, Frank Szczesniak, for being so polite. And you could see the smile, couldn't you, in the wave from him. Let's get on, because here we go with Trofeo Pirelli qualifying. Now, if you're new to the Ferrari Challengers, Ethan McWilliams, I mentioned a few moments ago, son of Rob McWilliams, who's just been out for qualifying. Ethan, up through the club challenge from last year, he is going to be a young whippersnapper to watch. If you're new to the Ferrari Challenge, you can identify which category the drivers are racing in by the coloured strip across the top of the windscreen. If they're an AM driver, as we've just seen, they have a white strip. If they're a Pirelli driver, then here you can see they have a red strip across the top of the windscreen. So Trofeo Pirelli was won last year by Dylan Medler. Dylan is returning, Andrew. This year he wants to make it 2 in a row. And not only that, Dylan raced in Europe as well. He's going to do the same again this year. Gray Falva had a bit-part campaign last year in the Ferrari Challenge in the 488s. This year, full campaign in the 296s. And Gray is another young driver worthy of great things. He did a fantastic job when we raced in support of Formula One under the lights. We were there, Las Vegas, because you were there.
I was, yeah. I was there on the last 2 Vegas Grand Prix in various corporate functions. And, of course, the Ferraris weren't there the first year. They were last year. Track conditions in Vegas were filthy at the start of the session. I remember seeing the Ferraris coming through and the dust was blowing up because, of course, that circuit, it being a road circuit, which is actually open to the public during the course of the weekend, and it was really tricky. Super cold temperatures racing late at night, and of course they put on a fantastic show.
They did.
The walls are very unforgiving there too, so great to see our drivers going and putting on a show in front, of course, of the worldwide fans of Formula One. A lot of eyes on Ferrari this year.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And Gray did a great job in Vegas. We're looking at the number 31 car there of Dave Musial 2.0, or we were. Another livery well worth you taking a look at. Now here comes last year's champion then. For the collection, Ferrari Miami, and this is Dylan Medler. So Dylan does a lot of racing. Dylan is a really, really nice, personable young man. Very, very quick, by dint of the fact he won the Trofeo Pirelli Championship last year. He's hoping to do the same this year. He's going to race in Europe as well, as indeed he did last year, so he got a lot of seat time and really feels at home in this 296 Challenge car. And just another thing to mention about Dylan and his girlfriend Juliet. Dylan's about 8 foot tall. He's a big boy, but boy, he can drive.
So Dylan there warming his tyres in the braking zone as he comes round. He'll now look to get a good exit from the last corner here, turn 11. And then it's flat out through this left-hander. What really surprised me was how quick the first couple of corners are. So you come through this left, but now coming uphill again, it's very quick through here. Watch him let the car run wide, then pull it back to the apex, now braking and pull it across. And on the curbs on the inside line. More cars starting on to come onto their hot laps now. We're a couple of minutes into the session. How far in? 4 minutes, so they should be coming onto their lap 3 now. Yeah, these guys, they reckon that the top guys might even get 6 laps in the 12 minutes. With the lap pace, they're just that much quicker round. Happier to warm it up a bit quicker and push a bit earlier.
An evergreen driver is Jason McCarthy, who we're watching right now. Jason did a dual campaign last year. By that, Andrew, I mean he raced in the 488 Challenge, and he also raced in the top class of the 296 Challenge as well. So there were times last year where he was literally jumping out of one car and getting into another, and these cars were like chalk and cheese to
tricky,
drive.
that is. It's really tricky.
And I questioned Jason several times. Did this compromise you? Did this? But no, Dave, no, it didn't. We'll see how he does now with his focus only on the 296, and we take a look at Brian Cook. Now, allow me to elucidate really about Brian Cook, because Brian won a championship last year. He was the Pirelli AM champion, and he has been elevated, therefore, into Pirelli this year. And Brian is one of these guys in the paddock that always has a beaming smile across his face. He's always happy to see you, always happy to have a joke with you, and be good to see what Brian Cook can do in Trofeo Pirelli. Returning, Manny Franco. Manny Franco's done a lot of racing, been very, very successful. Andrew, this is going to be a guy to watch in the Ferrari Lake Forest colours of the number 18 car, Manny Franco. Welcome back to the Ferrari Challenge. Dylan Medler at the moment is the quickest of our Pirelli drivers, ahead of Massimo Perina. And so, what a story to tell about Massimo, which we'll get to in due course. But at the moment, in these early stages of the qualifying, the drivers are not matching quite the times of
McCarthy's just
GM.
slotted into P4. Yeah, so, in fact, for the first 4 laps, Dave, they didn't even match the slowest car, so it is taking a good few laps to get those tyres up to temperature, and then it's like a switch.
Temperature.
Absolutely, it's much cooler. It's some 4 degrees Celsius. What's that in Fahrenheit, Dave? I'm terrible on Fahrenheit. I know. I always get shot in America for not talking Fahrenheit. They're about 50. There we go. Thank you very much. So about 50 Fahrenheit, and it's cold. There's a chill. There is a chill.
So we continue to watch Manny Franco then. Manny is nowhere near where he needs to be in terms of his position. As you can see, P13 at the moment. Expect this to be an improvement.
Yeah, ran all the way over the dirt on the exit of the curb there, so he really is using all the track and a bit more over the paint on the inside now. Watch the rear of the car. This is where you're seeing the difference between those guys who are right at the sharp end. They're moving the car around. He's happy to run that rear left out towards the wall, crosses the line, goes quickest.
Bosch, look, taken 1.5 seconds. He has delivered a 1:39.66, the Ferrari Lake Forest driver, Manny Franco. Here comes Tony Davis. Now, Tony was the guy that was chasing Brian Cook for all he was worth in the championship last year, as Massimo Perina now goes quickest. The Ferrari of Seattle driver, the young superstar that is Massimo. He has taken a 1/100th out of... well, it was Dylan Medler that actually effectively became P2 ahead of Manny Franco, so both those drivers improved.
And interestingly, a different approach, Dave, from these drivers. Look at that, sideways over the crest where the car goes so light. Sections of this track as well, you can see it's patchier where it's been resurfaced during the winter, which has actually helped tyre degradation a bit. Some of the drivers look like they're backing off after that first lap, so whether they'll sack the session and go into the pits, or whether they'll do 1 lap slightly slower and then start to push again, it's hard for us to tell from the announcing booth. But it is great to see people using all the track and a bit more, isn't it? There's that slot off the drag strip down towards the second of the brake wire, the first, in fact, of the passing places. Again, look at the rotation of the rear. Oh, who's that?
Now, we've got Martin Burrows, who has parked up. Now, I think that's off the track, so that is not going to impact this session. Now, this is the car of Massimo Perina. I said there's a story to tell you here, Andrew. Massimo Perina raced in the 488 Challenge last year. In fact, bar 1 race, I think he won them all. He's back, having graduated, and he is in the Trofeo Pirelli, and he is P1 at the moment. Is Manny Franco going to take it away? No, he isn't, not with this cumulative time, because Massimo Perina and Dylan Medler are the only drivers in the 130s at the moment. And they're the high 130s, 130.8 for both of those drivers. So Manny Franco is going to have to go again. Ferrari of Seattle driver then, Massimo Perina, P1 at the moment. This is the number 55 car that we're looking at now of Roberto Perina, uncle to Massimo Perina. It's a family affair with Ferrari of Seattle. Here comes Roberto then. As he crosses the timing line, he stays P7. He's not been able to improve. So top 3 drivers are Perina, Massimo, then it's Medler, Dylan, and Manny Franco. And another young superstar that's in here is Johnny Kaminsky. He's P4 at the moment. Luke French, who, happy birthday, Luke, for yesterday. Celebrated his birthday yesterday ahead of Dave Musial Jr., Roberto Perina, then Jason McCarthy, Gray Falva, Brian Cook. That's the way it looks at the moment. So this is Brian Cook that we're looking at right now. Is he on a hot lap here? Looks to be so. Wants to move himself away from that P11. Tony Davis is P12 at the moment. And Martin Burrows, we saw the car parked up off track. Whether he's able to get it going again, as Martin Burrows then would like to be on the racing line and not parked up. Here comes Brian Cook. Is he going to take some time out of his previous best time? I think so. And, well, Brian Cook then, he stays P11. It's really, really competitive. Across the top 10 drivers, there is barely a second between them. Johnny Kaminsky then, for Ferrari of Long Island, who I had a really nice chat with yesterday. He's currently P4. The clock is ticking away on Johnny Kaminsky's time. He's not been able to improve. So it remains, with just 2 minutes remaining, Andrew Coley, Perina, Medler, Franco. Is anyone going to break that trio, that triple play?
1300ths of a second between those top 2, Dave. It's just a tiny little difference in line, isn't it? I noticed a couple of people taking what I would call a quali line out of turn 11. That's when you can see somebody pushing, swirling around as he came over the crest. Kaminsky sideways over that crest, and then again on the brakes, gathered the car up beautifully. Watch now as he dives over the crest. This is 4th gear. So I was told yesterday that right-hander is flat on stickers. If you don't know what that means, it's when you've got the stickers on the tyres, as in they're brand new, it's flat out. So it needs a little lift as the tyres start to wear. You go deep down into the carousel, fourth gear, trail braking in, and again, look at the car moving around on the brakes into the hairpin. So Kaminski is pushing P4 at the moment. Two of the Pro-Am cars are up ahead in terms of lap times. So Pan and Brad Forver are still up in P4 and P5 overall in Pirelli, which is a fantastic performance by them.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, but there is no doubt about it. You can see it in the body language of the car as it's squirreling around the track here. Johnny Kaminski is on a hot lap here. 1:12, 1:13 right now. Target time of 1:38.64. Into the stadium section ahead of Casa Ferrari, where lots and lots of family and guests will be watching from the lavish hospitality that is Casa Ferrari as Johnny Kaminski targets that car and tries to shortcut to the timing line here. What's this time going to be? Not good enough, truthfully. Not good enough. It's P4 for Johnny Kaminski. He does move up, but he's not got into the 130s, Andrew.
No, he's gone quicker, but he's still some 3/10 off those guys in the
big sideways
130s.
And that was the number 18 car of Manny Franco. He's pushing as well. Last-ditch effort because there's only 25 seconds left on the clock. This is Manny Franco's last lap. Any driver that crosses the timing line before the clock counts down to 0, they can continue the lap that they are on. But this, for Manny Franco, is going to be his last opportunity to go from P3 to either P2 or P1. There was a lot of dust there, Andrew.
There was, yeah, I saw that. He's got an indicator on as well. That often indicates, so he's pulled off the side of the track, so he's quit the lap. I think he has anyway.
No, he hasn't,
through there. Well, so basically, sometimes an indicator on can be that the driver's had such a moment in the car that they've accidentally caught the stall and put the indicator on in mid-corner. On the other hand, they can use it to indicate to the driver behind that they are moving offline to let them through.
But he did go offline.
He did, yeah, he went off track. He went off track down at the very far end. It was up at turn 7. The double right-hander. Is he going to? Yeah, he comes to the pits. Yeah, I thought so. Just you'd have to quit that lap, Dave, because it wasn't going to be quick enough. So you might as well save the tyres.
Can Tony Davis improve? Tony is currently P12 in class. Tony Davis, a Pirelli AM driver last year, chased Brian Cook all the way to the championship, but ended up P2. Tony Davis will want to right the wrongs of last year. Has he improved? No, he hasn't. So I don't think anyone is going to take it away from this driver, Massimo Perina. And of course the only driver that was out of sequence really is Martin Burrows, who we saw parked up. I just do not know what I can do to describe any further the wonder of. There is Dino Perina, who's Massimo's father, was looking on with the headphones on. There he is, centre picture. I don't know what words I can use to describe Massimo. He is an absolute wonder. And you know, he said to me, and he's very understated, Andrew, when I was talking to him in the paddock yesterday, he said, oh, this can be a tall order, Dave, you know, it's, you know, they're all so much more competitive. Yeah, I'm really going to, you know, didn't say he was going to struggle, but he said, it's not going to be like last year. What's he done? He's put it P1.
Stuck it on pole. Fantastic performance by a tiny margin, but over last year's champion, Dylan Medler. Very pleased with that. Franco and McWilliams, P3 and P4. Kaminski in P5. Say, Eric Pan and Brad Forver for me. Brilliant performance by them as Pirelli AM drivers to be up in P6 and 7 overall.
May I mention Luke French, look?
Yeah.
Celebrating his birthday yesterday. Is P6.
18th, wasn't it, yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 years old. What a way to celebrate.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Who was he with yesterday when we met him? It's the first time I'd met him up here at the
John Horsch.
Yes, John Horsch. And John had said we were going to try and get him a bit twisted up tonight because he was 18. So hang on a minute. That's not, you can't do that. He's got to go racing. Right?
What means twisted up?
He hasn't. Well, it's big barbecue, I think.
Oh, okay, right.
Big barbecue.
Eat too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, what a qualifying session. Absolutely so enjoyable. And
really, the difference in commitment was fantastic to see. Particularly at this circuit, Sonoma, with the crests, seeing people run it out over the curbs with a bit of opposite lock on. That's a lot of commitment.
Sideways.
It's a lot of commitment.
Is entertaining.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily always the quickest. But
I'll take entertainment over lap time sometimes.
Right, here come the results in full for you, and. P1 for Massimo Perina, a 1:38.64. He ran close, I mean, a 100th in it. Dylan Medler, P2. Then Manny Franco. Ethan McWilliams, another stunning drive from a young driver. And Johnny Kaminski, they are P4 and P5. And Luke French, P6. Then Dave Musial Jr., then Roberto Perina, P8. Then it was Jason McCarthy, Brian Cook, Gray Falver, Tony Davis, and Martin Burrows. Ferrari Challenge over the years, Andrew, has become such a feeder series for young, talented racing drivers. You know, the best example of that I can spring to mind immediately is Nicholas Nielsen, my buddy, who you know, came into the Ferrari Challenge and now is a hypercar driver who's just won Le Mans with Ferrari. So there's a real career path that can be gained through racing in the Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got 5 drivers under the age of 21 here this year, which is a good indicator that those drivers are coming here with a career in mind. A good car to get your head around. Yeah, there we go. Look at that as well. Means a lot, doesn't it?
The announcing team, with the exception of Nina Jade, has got an average age of about 104. Jan Bernier, one of the first to go and congratulate him there. And there's such a good team spirit with the Ferrari of Seattle. And I have to say, the other thing that you really notice about these young drivers is how very media savvy they are. When you listen to Massimo Perena, he says all the right things, you know. So there's Darren Bernstein standing by to get out ready for the Shell AM qualifying that we'll be seeing in a few moments' time. But Massimo Perena then has started this year kind of the way he ended last year, and that is as P1. I mean, brilliant drive. So number 27 car, the 296 then. And there you can see the car. There you can see Massimo just doing the hair before Nina Jade approaches him. I understand the reasons why. You know, he's going to be one to watch in Trofeo Pirelli this year. That is for sure. So well done to the Ferrari of Seattle team, who have engineered a great car for him. But this boy had to pedal it. Nina Jade, Massimo Perena.
Massimo, I said I'd be interviewing you today, and look, here you are, pole position. How was that session? Did you expect to be on pole today?
No, and just like I told you just before this interview, I fully thought that I was P2 because I misinterpreted what I was hearing from on the pit wall here, but more than happy to hear the opposite.
You've had such a strong season last season. You've come in, you've set a message for this season. Talk us a bit about what goes through the mental and physical preparation to prepare for this. It's not just about hopping in the car randomly and setting the fastest time.
No, the whole off-season was spent prepping my mind and body for this. Mind on the simulator, body in the gym and in the sauna, just making sure I'm prepped so that there's absolutely no loose ends.
Well, go well tomorrow. See if you can convert it.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Well done, Massimo. He's a great guy. He really is. It's a real family affair down there. And you spent quite a lot of time with one of the Ferrari of Seattle driver coaches yesterday, Daniel Mancinelli, who in his own right is a great racing driver.
Yeah, I had a great chat with him about what settings are available to the drivers. With it being a one-make series, we've spoken about it a bit already, how crucial it is to get things like tyre pressure right, but I really wanted to get my head around what can you do to make a car go 2/10 quicker, particularly with these guys in the Pirelli category. It's so close between them. Look at pole, it was 13/100ths of a second. And we just talked through the various different settings in terms of traction control, ABS. There are driver aids on these cars, but the faster the driver, the less they use those aids. And it can depend a bit on track conditions. So, for instance, if most of the races we go to this year will be on a dirtier track than this. They've done many laps, so many sessions this week that Sonoma is fully rubbered in. Right. Absolutely. Whereas if we go somewhere where there hasn't been any racing during the week or any practice sessions, certainly it's going to take a few sessions. So you might find drivers in quali then using a slightly different traction control setting while the track is still a bit dirty and still a bit green. And then, of course, once you get later into the weekend, you'll see those settings come down. Or if it rains, don't think there's any sign of that here. This beautiful day in Sonoma.
Fortune doesn't necessarily favour the brave, does it? And that's when you have to listen to your driver coach in terms of what you do and what you don't do. You know, we're talking about those traction control settings, and many conversations I've had with the likes of Jeff Westphal and other driver coaches like that who say, you know, just sometimes it's better to have that safety net to know that you can push and push and push and it's not going to bite you on the bottom.
What's lovely about the Ferraris as well is what everybody's been saying to me is how well dialed it is.
Yes.
By Ferrari. It's not like traction control on your road car, which comes in immediately to kill any silliness because it's all about safety. This is traction control with one eye on lap pace as well. So you can set how aggressively you want it to come in, but also when it comes in. So if you were a novice driver and the conditions were slippery, you'd have the traction control coming in as soon as possible and as aggressively as possible. And if you're one of those guys who's looking for every single tenth, you can actually switch it off completely. So, yeah. Oh, there we go. As we say,
Darren
that
Bernstein.
into the wall.
I think that's Darren Bernstein.
Cold tyres. That's over the crest.
I just looked out of the corner of my eye as you were talking, Andrew, and whatever you say is compelling, and I find myself hanging on every word, but I didn't notice it.
Yeah, I must.
I think it's Darren Bernstein, but
Yeah,
we'll confirm that in a moment. So that will suspend this session, I feel sure, because that car is going to have to be recovered. And you're right. Cold tyres, it's like driving. I mean, you've got more racing experience than I have, although I've had a glittering career, you know. But
not as much as Tony V'landers will have when he's back. I'm looking at Tony would have something to say, wouldn't he? Here we go.
Oh, let's take it. So, yeah, I mean, because he's on the tarmac, isn't he? So it is. It's not like he ran off into the dirt. It is just cold tyres. That's.
And while we were talking about traction control as well, you know, maybe with the track being in such lovely condition, a few of the drivers have gone a bit braver on the settings than they might do normally. But it's still a relatively cold morning, so yeah, they'll look to get that car out. Got a brilliant parts truck here from Ferrari with everything stocked on it for the teams to be able to get those cars back in good condition and out. They said to me yesterday...
Man's there with the order pad.
Yeah, he will be. They said to me yesterday they had 2 entire cars on board, and I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, this is a rear subframe, a huge rear subframe for the car just sat on the back. There were a few parts being delivered where people have been a bit brave during their pre-season testing, and the teams do such a good job to turn the cars out beautifully with that support from the Ferrari parts truck.
Oh, Ferrari do everything really, really well. You and I have had
the
benefit of being part of Casa Ferrari, which of course is the lavish hospitality for drivers and families and guests and hangers-on like me and you.
Yeah.
It's
beautiful in there.
I mean, a Ferrari Challenge weekend, and I know on the flight over, I was trying to explain to you, you know, it's so much more than racing. It's an event in its own right.
It's a lifestyle event as well.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of these guys are very successful business people who aspire to be very successful racing drivers, and their time is extremely valuable. And they're spending a lot of time with this series. You know, some of them are spending up to 90 days with regard to testing and racing with the series. You think when you're running a big business, when they come here, they want to have a good time. And I have to say, from everything I've seen so far, they're having a great time. You know, they're all chilling out together, taking the mickey out, which got you in that last session. You're up 2 tenths quicker than you. It's a bit of banter. They're competitive. Don't get me wrong. None of them are here just for fun. They all want to do well, and that's why they're employing driver coaches and pushing as hard as they can.
And spending lots of time on sims and stuff like that. But we've been talking about the Sonoma Raceway and how difficult this Sonoma Raceway is. Well, one driver that took time to give us a hot lap around here is one of the Pirelli drivers, and that's the Canadian, Martin Burrows.
Hello, my name is Martin Burrows. I'm driving for Ferrari, Quebec, car number 46. I'm going to take you out for a lap at Sonoma Raceway. Here we are at turn 1 at Sonoma, entering turn 1 I mean. A lot of speed here. This is the place you can gain the most lap time. Turn 2 off camber, pretty light, the car's pretty light here. 4th gear. Turn 3, keep the inside. 3A, very light again. Turn 4 hard brake, 3rd gear. Anything on the speed bump. The kink is very, very fast. Almost flat out here. Progressive braking in the middle of the track. Try to stay inside. It's a bit camber. Full throttle here. 5th gear, 6th gear. Down to 3rd gear. Keep some speed here. A bit large, keep some speed. Go tight, flat out. 4th. 5th. Try to stay flat, but it's not easy. Flat here. Go to the track. Go on the left on the speed bump. Turn 11 is one of the fastest. Hard braking on the 2nd bump, not the 1st one, the 2nd one. We'll brush the wall. And that was a lap at Sonoma Raceway.
Thank you very much, Martin Burrows, then. And has he described the lap as you would describe the lap, Andrew Coley?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought was really interesting, we were on board through turn 9, which is the left before the right in the run-up to the last corner, how much curb he took. And you can hear it in the car. It makes like a rump noise as the tyres run over the top of that rigid curb, you know, the ribbed curb. And you could hear that when we were up on the hill yesterday filming. You could hear the people who were using a bit more curb. I think the other thing that's absolutely key to this lap is what I would call the whole of Sector 1. We're not doing sectors here this weekend, but from turn 1 up to the carousel, you climb all the way up, and then turn 2 is the right-hander, and then 3 is the left, and then the right up and over the crest. 3A is where we just saw the incident. And over that crest, we can see the Pirelli drivers are coming in. They're using curb on the left before it, then they're flicking the car the other way. It's already unsettled, riding the curb and then running out all the way over, but it's blind. They're coming up from a crest, and judging just how wide the road is there is incredibly tricky. They've had a lot of laps this week, which is probably why we're seeing people pushing as hard as we are, but just great to see. What a track, what a place to start a Ferrari Challenge season.
Ferrari Philadelphia driver, welcome to the challenge, Matthew Herfield. Great to see. I love the livery across that 296 challenge car. It looks awesome. So we have a red flag at the moment, and this is Stephanie Herfield driving the 180 car. Goes to a slightly plainer, but very, very. It's like metallic plus some, isn't it?
It's like the Milky Way, isn't it? Or something.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah,
that is fantastic.
Absolutely beautiful. The drivers take such pride in the way their cars look, and that's very encouraging to see as we're taking this opportunity to go down the drivers who are standing by to get out there. Jeff Nunberg, driver of the Ferrari of Central New Jersey 141 car. Jeff is always there or thereabouts, Andrew.
Yeah, you see on the back there, you can see the number plate which shows the car, but it also shows the colour of the sun strip, which Dave was mentioning earlier. Tells you what category they're in. Now, when you're out on track, obviously, even with the different liveries, but it being a one-make series, you come up behind and the driver at least is able to identify who is this car in front, particularly in Shell, when they might be lapping a bit more often. Is it someone who's as quick as me or not, just based on that little pad? There we go, look.
We were just looking at the Steve Check car, and I got a little story to tell you about Steve Check. Steve and I get on really, really well. He sent me a message yesterday along with the image of a picture that had been painted for Steve to commemorate his racing in the Ferrari Challenge. So thanks for sharing that with me, Steve. The 103 car is the car of Michael Owens then, and he drives for Ferrari of Alberta. And that car looking good, doesn't it? And you can see brand new. And here's Jeffrey Keel. Jeffrey Keel, another returning driver, gentleman driver from Ferrari of Atlanta.
Did you also note the little track map on the steering wheel? And that's so the driver can look down and go, right, hang on a minute, I'm struggling with turn 5. Get on the radio straight away, but it's turn 5. But also I noticed that first section of the track that we were talking about, whole of the rest of the track was in black. The first section was in red, and it's always this is so the bit.
The important part.
It's all important, isn't it? But I think that's the hardest part. This is great. Look at that.
Ferrari of Atlanta driver Gabe Harib, who I introduced you to yesterday.
Yeah.
And Gabe is a great driver, and look at the livery. Look at all the writing on that car.
Yeah, it's a kind of an art car concept, isn't it? I've seen this a few times at big events.
And this, great to see, is returning to the Ferrari Challenges, Lance Corley. Lance didn't race much last year. I think he might have done 1 or 2 events, but Lance is back this year with the new 296. Hello, Nancy. Hope you're well. Lance's wife. And Lance Corley, good to see him back into a competitive Ferrari Challenge car. He also drives other Ferrari products as well, but yeah, he's going to be one to watch, Jeff Nunberg. And I think we just saw the recovering Darren Bernstein car being brought in, so hopefully we're not too many minutes away. Andrew.
Yeah, worth noting the clock is showing 10 minutes 27 seconds. So because, of course, they started the session, they've paused the clock. These guys will have wanted every lap they can get. Now the tyres are not warm enough again. Absolutely. They're going to have to do their warm-up laps, which we know is 3 laps. This could come down to a 1-lap shootout effectively for the pole in this category.
This is what I call absolutely a dash for cash.
Yes.
There is Steve Check, and Steve will be champing at the bit to get going, as will indeed all the drivers. Ferrari of Rancho Mirage. Some of the dealer names, for me, are as exciting as the colours on the cars themselves. It's one of the joys of being involved with Ferrari Challenge North America, as is coming to circuits like this. The Sonoma Raceway, and a great shot there from our cameraman. It really, you and I stood up there doing some pieces to camera yesterday. You don't appreciate the elevation changes, and just on the side of the hills this place is, it just affords a wonderful testing circuit for our drivers. There, the prancing horse, and we're being told that probably the recovery operation may be another couple of minutes or so, and we'll be back to it. So it's the Andrew and Dave story at the moment, and we're just trying to keep you informed. And you can see that Lance Corley and Gabe Harib, who both drive for Ferrari of Atlanta are champing at the bit to get out there. The first two cars in the queue of cars ready to go as we look at the 108 car of Melissa Kozira. Now, Ferrari Challenge, Andrew.
Yeah.
Ferrari drivers, road car drivers may choose to take Corso Pilota. And there's various levels of the Corso Pilota you can do. And, you know, from that you may feel, do you know what, I fancy doing some racing. Maybe you go into Club Challenge, as Melissa Kozira did, and that's not competitive. It's just yourself against the clock, along with a bunch of other people as well. And Melissa is a great example of someone that's come through the ranks, if you will, of the learning of Ferrari. And Ferrari do it so well with top level instructors all the way through. And Melissa now is a regular podium placer in the Ferrari Challenge. So, you know, even drivers that feel that, you know, they've had to dedicate their lives to other things but have always had a penchant for racing, with Ferrari you can still do that, Andrew.
That ladder is so important. You wouldn't want to imagine coming straight in and jumping into a grid with the guys who are at the very top of the Pirelli category. Yeah, these are guys who are able to hold their own in GT racing at any level, and you don't want to come and jump in there when you've only done a track day. That's not how it works. So you come along, the coaches will sit in the car with you. We do a lot of data analysis these days. So where before, back in the day, and I spent 10 years working as a motorsport instructor, you'd be sat next to people of varying talent, let's say, and it could get quite scary. It's why I moved on to television, Dave. In the end, I got scared. But you now with the data that's available in the last few years, what's come on in terms of GPS and what you can take off the cars, the onboards, you can analyse what they're doing. You can all, the coaches will go out trackside as well and look at the corners in there, and you just bring the drivers on until they're at a point where, as you say, they might want to come and do some of the time attack style events that Ferrari do, and then eventually dip your toe into the water of getting into the challenge. That's why it's nice we've got these different categories too. You know, Pirelli, Trofeo Pirelli, and then AM, and then this is Coppa Shell and AM as well. This is Shell AM. So these guys are at the learning stage.
Yeah, the Shell AM drivers with the black strip across the top of the windscreen are unleashed now for their well, sub 10-minute qualifying that they've got. The time compromised by virtue of the fact that the Darren Bernstein car had to be recovered. All will be fine. Just unfortunately, Darren will probably be from the back of the grid come the race, because I doubt they'll get that car back out again for qualifying, because we've only got 9.5 minutes right now. So the pressure is really on our drivers like Gabe Hariv now in just 9.5 minutes to develop a really good lap. Let's go on board with Melissa Kozira. Now, the reason that you see that screen in Melissa's car is because in the 296 challenge there's a big safety bulkhead, Andrew, which prevents you having what would be called a traditional rear view mirror. So all the drivers in the 296 challenge have this field of vision created by the cameras at the back of the car and the screen. Every driver tells me it's more immersive than a rear view mirror would ever be. It gives you a wider angle, it gives you much better vision, and every driver love it. That's the screen that you're looking at of the Melissa Kozira car. Melissa's husband Bill will be watching on, and in fact he'll have the headphones on probably. And Melissa then, really impressive lady driver who delighted she's back in the Ferrari Challenge once again for 2025.
Yeah, absolutely great to see. And likewise, to see that rear view that the drivers do have. Nothing worse than seeing that camera full, because it's a wide angle. If the camera's full, you know the person behind you is very close indeed. And as we've already heard, passing here is very tricky. I think you'll see more passing in the Coppa Shell because of the variance of the driver's experience. There'll be people who will have a crack if somebody in front of them is not as quick as they think they can go. Qualifying also here very important, particularly if you're at the front of Coppa Shell. You know that you could be as we discussed earlier, you can be up to 15 seconds a lap quicker than some of the drivers who are at the rear. Here we go, perfect example. So you've got to try and find your way through. If you can't find your way through, you're not going to get a traffic-free lap, and you're not going to qualify as high as you wanted. But it's got to be sensible.
So this is Jeffrey Keel and Jeffrey Nunberg then, who are each fighting for every corner of every centimetre rather of tarmac. Jeffrey Nunberg going to go through here all the way around the outside because he's on a hot lap, and he wants to max out what he can do, whereas Jeffrey Keel may have had different strategy, of course. And you know, you can't just make your car disappear, Andrew. If you're warming your car up, you don't want to do anything to impede any other driver, but equally you can't just make your car disappear into thin air.
No, you can't, and it is tricky because drivers will be, particularly with the spin that happened earlier on, people will be aware, okay, it can happen. You know, that can knock your confidence a bit.
Of course.
You're sitting in the car for 10 minutes then with a red flag on thinking, oh no, tyres are getting cold. So much of a driver's game, regardless of the level, is in the head. Yeah, and a good driver coach should tell you that. You know, sometimes it's like, okay, this isn't in the car, it's in your head. Yeah, and you have to get set and get going. They're still warming up. They're only just done their first lap, Dave. We've got 6:56 left on the session. They're doing 1:40s. It's going to take 3 laps to get those tyres up to temperature. I think it's going to be, as you said, it's going to be a dash for cash, this one. Who can get it done in the all-important quick lap?
At the moment, it's Gabe Harib who is the quickest with a 1:38.462. Then it's Lance Corley. So 2 Ferrari of Atlanta drivers going head-to-head, P1 and P2. Matthew Herfield then, were the Ferrari Philadelphia drivers, put it into P3. Jeff Nunberg, P4. This is the 124 driver, Steve Check. This should be a good lap, but it's not going to be. Steve's clock time, as you can see, that was obviously an out lap, effectively, for Steve. Now he'll go for it. Hopefully he's got clear track space ahead of him. You would expect to see Steve Check right at the sharp end of the qualifying results. So let's see if Steve can put a good lap in now as we stay with him now. The all gold and black colours of Steve Check as he rounds the left-hander and a big climb uphill here.
That's the crest there, the right-hander where the car goes light, particularly if you're really pushing from the previous one. You see the weight transfer then, we've got that lovely low shot, and you actually see the pitch on the chassis from left to right. And obviously if you're going from one corner in one direction to the other, that weight transfer takes a little bit longer, and you've got to account for that. You stick a crest in the middle of it, and things get really interesting.
Right, this is Lance Corley then, who's second fastest at the moment. His previous best time, a 1:38.761. Is this going to be an improvement from Lance Corley then, who's adopted a real serious attitude to his racing this year? He's lost a bit of weight, is training very hard, and Lance Corley heads to break the timing beam now, and does go P1, and goes P1 with a big margin, Andrew Coley. 2.5 seconds quicker than his teammate, if you will, Gabe Harib.
Yeah, that's very early doors, isn't it? And in fact, now look, Jeff Nunberg has gone up into 1:36.1. He's only 0.2 of a second behind. So this is the difference between drivers who are willing to push on the tyres just before they're warm. So they're pushing, look at the lap counts here. Most drivers have only, they're on their third laps. So these drivers are on that lap 3. So
this is where
they're just
optimized.
coming up. Exactly. So they're up to temperature now. So I've been looking at it, 4:40 left. We could get another 3 laps in theory if they want to keep having a crack at that top time.
Okay, it's Corley from Nunberg, from Owens, from Herfield, from Harib, Keel, then Steve Check is P7 at the moment, ahead of Helen Shue. Then it's Bayless, Herfield, Eggy, Lynn, Kozira, Jada, Bernstein, and Flory. Not set a time. We're not going to see a time from Bernstein because he was off the track. Lance Corley, the quickest driver so far, a 1:35.837. Only 2 drivers in the 35s, and Paul Lynn has now gone P1. With a 1:35.837 for Ferrari of Newport Beach. We're watching Helen Shue then, who is currently 9th fastest. Very creditable performance from Helen Shue in the 115 car, that all-yellow Ferrari Challenge 296 car, looking good. So Lynn and Corley, the top 2 then at the moment. Al Heggie P13. Drivers climbing uphill then. So Paul Lynn for Ferrari of Newport Beach, with just under 4 minutes of this session remaining as we look at the car of Rachel Bayless, driving for Corley Ferrari of Detroit. Gabe Harib goes P2 right now, so the Ferrari of Atlanta domination for P1 and P2 remains right now. He's within 3. Oh, as round has gone Jeffrey Nunberg, he'll be able to get it back. That's in the stadium section, I think, Andrew.
Yeah, it is in the stadium section. That's effectively turn 1 he's coming up to. That's the last corner and then into turn 1. So he would have been on a push lap, and unfortunately, it looks to me probably spun it on the exit, the hairpin, unless he's dropped it on the brakes. Here it is, look, on the gas. You want to run the car out wide there, and we'll see it to the left of your screen. There it is, just on the throttle a bit too early with a bit too much lock. And what you're trying to do, of course, is run the car out as close to the wall as you dare, with the throttle as early as you dare. And that didn't play out that time.
But presumably you are on a knife edge. There's very little between.
And you'd rather spin inside than hit the wall on the outside. Yeah, spin inside, get another lap, and hit the wall, red flag.
Here comes Gabe Harib then. He'll be, he and Lance be good buddies in the Ferrari of Atlanta garage, of course. But now, this is going to be critical for Gabe Harib. He's got traffic ahead of him, Andrew. And that, whatever happens, is going to compromise this lap with only 2.5 minutes remaining. You can see him champing at the bit behind this car. and he's not going to be able to find a way by, I suspect, until you get into that final part, which is where we're heading right now. Pirelli will dive to the inside here, outbrake going into the turn, but whatever happens, his lap has been compromised by the car of Chada.
Yes, indeed. He got him on the braking zone. Now, of course, he's got a bit of clear track in front of him. 2:11. He could, in theory, get another 2 laps in here, Dave. But the trouble is he's got another car just in front of him. So
not
how
only that,
quickly he catches up to that as well.
He's taken rubber off of those tyres.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're another lap older. So Corley leads by 0.385 at the moment. You're on board with Melissa Kozra, sorry. I'm still learning the names. Dave's been here.
Kozira is how she likes it.
Kozira, there
Yeah.
it is. Dave's been here 7 years.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
get there.
there you go.
Apologies, Melissa. Kozira.
It's great to have this on board, and there you can see those curves ribbed, as you said, so you hear that.
Yes, you'll hear it here on the left-hander.
Okay.
If she uses curve here. Ready? There it is. And then again on the right. Okay, that's not so ripped on that
It's like
side.
we rehearsed the first part.
It is. Here's that big braking zone. This is quite a fearsome braking zone too, Dave, because there is no runoff. So if you get it wrong, look how close the wall is. Most of the time in motorsport, if you have a big braking zone into a hairpin, there's a massive gravel trap, and there isn't. So it takes a lot of commitment to go quick in here. Melissa through the left-hander now. This next left is fast as well, and then it will peel uphill. Watch this, a little lift. Pull it back in now to the left-hand side, get it straight, wait for the weight to transfer, and then on the brakes and into the right-hander. Going really well.
Yeah, Melissa is P9. Really good job being done by Melissa Kozira. Make that P10 right now as Helen Shu has just gone to P9. Lance Corley and Gabe Harib are still trading places over this P1, but there's just over 3/10 between the two of them, and with 45 seconds left on the clock. This is what I love, Andrew, about the Ferrari Challenge qualifying. It's short, it's sharp, it's entertaining. You've got to go out there and deliver.
Got to get it done.
Darren will tell you, get it wrong, and it's all over. You've got no second chances with qualifying. This is Al Hegyi, then, a long-time campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge, currently running P14. It's Lance Corley and Gabe Harib ahead of Lynn and Owens and Nunberg and Czech, who are completing the top 6 at the moment with 12 seconds left to go. The car 181 of Matthew Herfield has gone into the pit lane. Not going to see another lap out of Matthew Herfield, I don't think, or certainly marked as being stopped as the checkered flag comes out. Anyone that's on a lap, Andrew, that lap still counts, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So basically, it's the old, you started so you can finish. As long as you cross the line before the checker comes out, you can finish that lap. With a few cars in the pits as well. If you're on a hot lap now, at least there's a little bit less traffic out there. But of course, your tyres are now coming up for the 10, 12 minutes old, 5, 6 laps, and that may be past the absolute peak of their performance. I think probably that's less critical for the Shell AM drivers than it would be for the Pirelli drivers, just because of how much they're on the absolute limit of what the car can do. But it's still a factor.
Steve Czech put in a lap just at the checkered flag, which has given him P3. So in class, a second row start for Steve Czech. That's where we would kind of expect to see Steve in the qualifying lineup. Paul Lynn, P4 for Paul. I don't think there's anyone on a lap that is really going to astound, but I could be wrong as we watch now Ramchada in the 125 car round the final turn and head towards breaking the timing beam. The target time is a 1:34.923, which was the best lap from Lance Corley, who goes with pole position. And that has not troubled the 1:34 time.
No, it moves up a couple of places though. Goes P11, went a few tenths quicker. So at least be pleased that the last lap was a quicker one.
This could be one worth watching from P5. Jeff Nunberg is he on a quick one here, and Jeff Nunberg then no. He remains actually P6 as Owens has gone P5. So this is a driver that was improving, Steve Czech.
Yeah, Nunberg, I think, is a bit unlucky there, Dave. He was on a great lap and span, and having put in that early good lap, which I think had him up in the top 3.
Yes, you're right.
When you have the spin, then that just knocks your confidence a little bit. What's good is that he did get a couple of laps in after that, and so he'd be well placed to go well. And if you are new to Ferrari Challenge, like I am this weekend, then they get to do this all again tomorrow as well. So aside from the racing this afternoon, they've got another crack at a qualifying session tomorrow. And I'm really excited to see how the season plays out, and you see how that form changes during the course of the year.
Yes, you qualify on the same day that you race in the Ferrari Challenge, and that's always good. It gives us another exciting element to look forward to during the course of our race event. So the 103 car, driven by Owens. And there you can see the mix of blue and green across that 296 Challenge car. Fastest driver, Lance Corley. Second fastest, Gabe Harib. Now for the team, this will be really important for them because they've got P1 and P2. That'll make the team feel very happy because behind every racing driver there is a whole bunch of people that are working hard to make sure the driver can deliver in that car. And actually it's really incentivizing and motivating the team when your driver does well.
Oh, it's brilliant to see them both on the front row. They've got another car look down in P8. The only problem it gives you, of course, Dave, is right, lads, how are we going to do turn one? You have to have a bit of a chat. When you're alongside somebody from another team, it's like just mug him at the first corner. It's fine. Do whatever you need to do. Slam the door in his face. We don't mind. When it's your teammate alongside, it's hold your breath time. Keep it sensible, lads. Let's get through turn one and get a strategy in. But they could control the race from there in the Shell AM category, and we can see now the Coppa Shell drivers are heading out as well. No gap between the sessions because, of course, we had that stoppage earlier on for a red flag, so they've rolled the cars out actually as the remaining cars from Shell AM were on their in-lap.
We've got one out. That, to me, looks like Henry Hummel. I might be wrong, but I
think, 129 to my eyes as well, Dave, and that is
Henry Hummel, who is coached by
same place. Same place.
So it's on that climb uphill, and they're over the crest. That's where you lose it. Is it because the car is unbalanced then?
The car's light, yeah. So you're coming through 3 and into 3A, and 3A, we'll have a shot of it, because if this is a red flag, I'm sure we'll be able to find something where we can actually see the crest.
Get that turned around.
They might, if he can move the car himself, where it's not in the wall. And this is the other thing. Well, the question is, did it go in the wall before it ended up where it is? Point. We haven't seen the off. So if he can get that, then it is a red flag. So we'll have a look. We'll see if we can find the crest and show you. There we go. Marshall waving the red flag. I think the hoodie is a good indicator of the temperature. It's a beautiful day, and
I don't think that's been in because it doesn't
I'm not sure either. A
big shout out to those marshals, incidentally. Without those people doing the hard work that they do, we wouldn't get to enjoy the sport that we love. So well done all the way around the track and all around the world, wherever you are. You're all volunteers, and we appreciate very much what you do. There you go. So we have suspension of this Coppa Shell qualifying session, which is just what the drivers didn't want, Andrew.
Indeed. They have to sit in the pit lane again. They've lost a minute.
It did go in, big
front
time.
Right corner's gone, and that wheel's out of alignment.
Henry.
So that's going to have to be brought back, I'm afraid. Important to note, of course, the cars are very safe. All the roll cages, look at the bars down the front of the screen. Fantastic safety equipment in these. They've got the full-on FIA seats with the wings on the sides. They really are brilliant. And
I had a really, really long chat with Marc Genet, who, of course, is a Ferrari ambassador, and Tony Verlander, who you'll be hearing from during the course of the season. Those drivers have a lot of input into the design of these cars, and safety is integral. And safety isn't number one, it's beyond number one.
Absolutely.
It's so important. And, the drivers all say they feel supremely comforted that these cars are so good. As we looked at the Joe Sposato car, and there we can see the car of Ed Vartigan, 143. So, a little suspension to the session then, which, as a former racing driver, Andrew, when you psych yourself up for your qualifying session on a track where overtaking is critical, you're getting your mind into the right set because you know you've got to achieve in qualifying. Your adrenaline must be thumping and a-pumping, and then all of a sudden, poosh, it gets stopped. How do you pick yourself up?
It's really tricky, particularly if you're like me. I used to get terribly nervous. So lots of drivers, don't worry about it at all, are excited to get cracking. I used to be ever so nervous. You can use that adrenaline. When you get in the car, you can use that to focus and get yourself into the right place. But as you say, the other thing about it is it's extremely tiring. Jumping in and out of the car all day long. Of course, they're going to do qualifying, and then they're going to do their 2 races later on today. It really wears you out with adrenaline up and adrenaline down. You reach a point where it wears you out. So it's not what you want, but they have to find a way to do it. This is a good time for the coaches to be on the radio and saying, chill out, everything's fine. We're going to go out, we're going to do the same again. And same again, but what I mean by that is nobody's done a lap. So they're going to go out. You still need to do your 3 cool laps. Get yourself ready, build the temperature up. We'll tell you when to start to push. And away they'll go looking for that pole in the Coppa Shell category.
Thanks, Andrew. Of course, previous session that we saw was for the Shell AM drivers, and pole position goes to Lance Corley. Well done, Lance, and he's with Nina J. Paul right now.
Lance, congratulations. I know you put in a lot of hard work over the winter. Describe that lap in one word.
It was very smooth. We got the tires heated up. The team did a great job. Rosa Corsa did a wonderful job. My coach, John, did an incredible job, prepping me and everything. I've lost a lot of weight over the winter. I've tried to get in really good shape.
You look great.
Well, you're very kind. But it was a wonderful event. The weather's great. Everything's great. I want to thank Ferrari of Atlanta, who's my dealer as well. And one more person, my wife, Nancy. She's my biggest supporter. I love her dearly.
Lovely. I mean, Sonoma is a tricky and a technical circuit, as we all know. Throw in a red flag as well. What was the trickiest part in putting that pole lap together for you?
Well, you have to get down the carousel really fast, but you have to stay inside tight and go to gas as quickly as you can. There's a lot of speed through the back half of the carousel. Turn 10 is another challenge. You're doing 100 and should be doing 110. I may have been doing 105, but I'm working on that. But it's a high commitment turn, so the track's pretty straightforward. Other than that, no rest though, no rest.
So in second in 2023.
And we appear to have lost just.
Well, I came in the race, or no? Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's do my best. Racing, it's very unpredictable. I'm just thankful to be here and be alive.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Well done, Lance Corley, and nice that you name-checked Nancy as well. And Nancy and Lance are lovely, lovely people. So well done, Lance Corley, and we'll take a look at the results now of the Shell AM qualifying. Here it is for you in full, as if by magic. Hey, Lance Corley, P1, we've just heard from him. Gabe Harib taking P2, making it double bubble for Ferrari of Atlanta. Then it was Steve Check bringing in a P3 right at the end of the session ahead of Paul Lynn. Then it was Michael Owens. Jeff Nunberg, then it was Matthew Herfield ahead of Jeffrey Keel. They occupy the top 8 positions, so the first 4 rows. Stephanie Herfield and Helen Shue, P9 and P10. Then it was Ram Chada, Melissa Kozera with P12. Then it was Bayless, P13, Heggie, P14, and Bernstein, P15. With Louis Flory not setting a time during qualifying. Therefore, we'll start from the back of the pack when it comes to the race this afternoon. That's the way it looked. We are in the Coppa Shell qualifying at the moment. Well, I say we're not, because the session has been suspended momentarily whilst we recover a car.
There's the difference as well. You see a driver fanning a door. So we're saying it's chilly. It is chilly. There's a chill, but there's beautiful sunshine.
Yes.
When you're sitting in the car, well, you can see here. Here's a good example. So absolutely every inch of your skin is covered by about 3 layers of fireproof suit, fireproof gloves, fireproof boots. You wear underwear underneath, which is the same as you would wear when you're going skiing, but it's not for the cold, it's for the hot. It's fireproof again. Then you've got the chair around you, the belt's on, and it's just hot. So you're sitting in the car. This is the other thing. They don't want to be sitting in the car now. They'd love to get out, but you don't want to get out because getting in is a palaver, as we like to say. It's faff, as we say in the UK, and you've got to put all your belts on. So they'll sit there and fan the door and just get themselves going, but very different. Imagine if this was August, as it was for you guys last year, then it would be really hot. And at that point, you're like, please get the session back underway.
Every driver and their dealer have guests and family here, and they will all be enjoying the Casa Ferrari, which is where we are right now. And you can see, you can sit outside, and you've got a great view of the final turn here at the Sonoma Raceway. And we've got a great view of the back end of the Jan Bernier car, I do believe. Jan Bernier driving for Ferrari of Seattle. And as we've taken a look with what I mentioned then, you shouldn't use tech terms on the air because, of course, we want you to be as much a part of it as we are. The RRF camera, I think, is right as they go down and check out all the drivers that you can see. Bilicek, who I met yesterday, new into the Ferrari Challenge for Ferrari of Central Florida. And then next is Richard Pineda. Now, Richard Pineda's daughter and Richard and I were having a conversation earlier on today. Richard is a lovely driver, drove in the 488s last year, Andrew. So, and he was telling me the difference between the 488 and the 296 in terms of what he has had to get used to. It's a steep learning curve.
Very different chassis. A number of the driver tutors were telling me the same, that the step up between the two, just a different car to learn. It's a different way to drive it. A bit more rubber on the road as well with the 296, and just various little things which make a difference to the way the car feels.
I was asking Richard because the 296 features brake-by-wire, which is very technically advanced, as you would expect from Ferrari. And he said the feel of the brakes very, very different to what you're used to, and that in itself takes a bit of acclimatizing, if you will. taking a look at Roy Carroll, who had a lot of success. Now, Roy Carroll's got a lot of family members that are taking part in the Ferrari Challenge weekends, whether in Club Challenge or indeed in the Ferrari Challenge. And Roy Carroll, who's kind of at the top of the tree in terms of age of all the family members that are enjoying the Ferrari Challenge events, Roy can still pedal a car and pedal it really successful. Andrew, he is one to watch over the course of the season.
Very much looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Another great livery there as well. Angry-looking bee on the side of the car, ready to sting on the way into turn 1. Oh, there we go. That's from Ice Age, isn't it, I think?
Osvaldo Gallo. There in the car that is supported by Ferrari of Central New Jersey.
I love that. There's always a story behind a sticker on a car. You know, you go see a
Sometimes
driver,
you want to
say,
know.
well, what's this for? I'm going to have to go and find out later what that's. I mean, it might just be his favourite movie. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Who knows?
Yeah. So Osvaldo Gallo is another driver, always one to watch. So the 122 driver is, as I mentioned, new into the Ferrari Challenge, Bilicek. And I was talking to earlier, there's Jan Bernier, who's been a long campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge, driving for Ferrari of Seattle. Very distinctive livery with the Jan Bernier car that I've been used to seeing. And he has also raced in Europe as well as we're getting ready to go back, Andrew.
Yeah, we are. You could hear people firing up their engines again in pit lane, and that's always a good indicator that we're about to go. And so the driver coaches and engineers will have been on the radio to their drivers and said, let's get ready to go. Get yourselves fired up. The safety vehicles are coming in off the track.
Yes, and we will get the session, which was going to be 10 minutes and 16 seconds. So again, a little bit of a compromise, Andrew, in terms of time that the drivers are going to have available to them.
Yeah, pretty much the same as we saw from the Shell AM session. And they still managed to get 5 laps away, we reckon, didn't we? 5 or 6 laps, in fact. Here we go, green flag.
Let's go. Qualifying then. And the clock has immediately started to count down. And I think it was Roy Carroll, wasn't it, that was at the head of the queue. So we'll see what the drivers can do as we look at the 199 car going out of John Lennon, the Ferrari of San Francisco driver. And here we go with another exciting qualifying session ahead of the racing to come this afternoon. If you're just joining us, hello. Welcome to the Ferrari Challenge, round 1 of our 2025 calendar. We are in the Napa Valley in California, and the winding Sonoma Raceway are waiting all our drivers as they go out for qualifying. The Shell drivers, you can tell that they are Shell drivers by dint of the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. It's Dave and Andrew on the morning rave. It's still morning, isn't it? Yes, 11:30 local time here. I don't know about you, Andrew. It's taken me a couple of days, really, to get the old body clock into rhythm here because it's a big difference.
Yeah, first long-haul trip of the year for us from the UK. It's season kicking off nice and early, and we can see here, look, so people are jostling for position. The reason they're doing that, Dave, is they want clear track in front of them. So, yeah, this isn't a race situation. We've got drivers diving up the inside. That's right up at the very far end of the circuit, turn 7. Coming back now from there and through the S's. So look at that. That gives you a good idea. Look at the direction change. You don't see that, but that rear shot gives us a brilliant idea of where it is. And look at the gap those top 5 drivers have already made over the rest of the pack. They're feeling confident on cold tyres. They want to get out there. They want to set a lap.
Jan Bernier is champing at the bit here. It's like a race, isn't it? Jan Bernier is trying to find a way by.
So maybe with the stoppage, they think they're into race 1. Someone needs to get on the radio and say, lads,
dive into the inside here.
Yeah, there we go.
Good awareness, though, and well done to Richard Pineda, I think it was, who made sure that there was plenty of racing room, I'm tempted to say, for Jan to go through.
It's crucial, isn't it, to get it done and to try and get out in front as quick as you can.
So Gary Ott, Brian Waltersdorf, Kevin Orsini, Roy Carroll, they're all drivers that you're going to see in this qualifying session, and you're also going to see Jarrett Bilicek, who, as I mentioned, Jarrett Bilicek is new into the Ferrari Challenge. Had a long conversation with him yesterday, the Ferrari Central Florida driver. Let's see what he can do, because we're running the clock on Jarrett right now. Now, if you're going to have anyone kicking at your backside, then Jan Bernier isn't a bad guy to be up your trumpet, because he knows how to push. Jan has been very, very successful in his racing, and he will be pushing Jarrett very, very hard. You can see, in fact, he's trying to find a way by.
So this is crucial. Get a good exit here, and you can get a run on the way down towards turn 7. As we say, we already discussed this is qualifying, and in theory, you don't need to pass. But if you want clear track, and how long's left on the session? They've got 7 minutes left on the session. He wasn't close enough, though. So Carousel, you've got to get a great exit and try and come through there. We were talking a few moments ago with our pole sitter from Shell AM, and he was saying about how the exit from Carousel is absolutely crucial for a good lap time, and using all the road out of there as well.
Now Jan has dialed it in a bit. I think what his thought is, do you know what, I'm going to save this and go next lap. Let Jarrett get up the road a bit. What Jan is trying to do is buy himself track space here. Very, very clever strategy going on here. He won't give a monkeys about the drivers behind him. And then he will give it 100% full chat flat when he crosses the timing line and go for the next lap, I think, Andrew.
Yeah, I agree. Gary Ott in the background looks like he's looking for a way through as well, but these four have made a big break from the rest of the pack. Listen to that.
Jarrett goes P1 with a 1:38.039, then Richard Pineda, then Gary Ott, then Jan Bernier. But don't read too much into the times at the moment. I suspect they will come tumbling down over the next 6.5 minutes. 1:38 or so from Bilicek, 1:38.039. So let's see what the drivers can do. This will be, I think, Jan's first hot lap, because he's bought himself that clear tarmac ahead of him.
It's lap 3 as well, so that's lap 2 just completed. So they're on. It is optimum is 3, is what all the driver coaches are saying. Is optimum is 3. So the Pirelli tyres, a shout out for Pirelli, of course, partner with Ferrari Challenge, and they are specifically developed the 19-inch version of the tyre for the 296 Challenge car. Absolutely brilliant piece of kit. Say they get a set a day, they use it in qualifying, they then use it again in the race. It's up to you how you use that, how many laps you want to do in qualifying. So the earlier you get a better lap, the more you can rest your tyres for the race later on in the day. Up and over the crest and into Carousel, wonderful stuff. Pirelli's been leaned on very hard.
With a track like this, as we look at the car of Chuck Whittle, with a track like this, Andrew, which is quite abrasive, how critical will it be come race time to have longevity in those tyres?
I think the fact it's hard to pass here, it puts you at a slight advantage. You know, I would commit to qualifying in that being further up the grid when you know it's hard to pass anyway.
You want to be.
Yeah, you'd like to think that if you've got a good grid position, that the people behind you have probably used their tyres as much as you have.
Right.
Yeah, there might be somewhere else where there was a better chance to pass, where I might be tempted to go, you know what, I'll settle for 4th on the grid, and then I'm really going to push in the race. I'm going to park the car now and keep fresh tyres, especially if you're somewhere really hot later on in the year.
It's not often I say things that are correct, but Jan Bernier has just posted the fastest lap, so he did back off, didn't he? And he then used that lap. He would have been advised by Daniel Mancinelli, his driver coach, and that's what Jan Bernier has done. He's delivered a 1:33.550, which is 2.5 tenths quicker than Chuck Whittle, who was P1, but now Mitchell Green for Ferrari of Westlake.
1.4.
He's taken a 1:32.142, so the only driver, Mitchell Green, into the 1:32s, Andrew. That's significant.
Nearly into the 1:31s, absolutely brilliant lap. Bernier now, I think he's going to be a little bit compromised. You say, managed to get the space for a one-lap go, Dave. If he wants to do it again, he's going to have to drop back again, and that's giving up a lap. So, yeah, but with 1.4 to find, I think everybody else has got to have another crack at this.
I think you're right. It is Green from Bernier, from Vittel, from Bilicek. Good showing on his first showing in the Ferrari Challenge. Then Bruce Cleveland, local driver, Ferrari of Silicon Valley. Bruce Cleveland has gone 5th fastest with a 1:58 number, but a 1:34.613 time on track. That was his lap time. Then it's Orsini, then Lennon, then Chen, Pineda, Clark, Waltersdorf, and Parker then. That's the way it looks. You can see the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. Welcome to Alberto Duran, I should say, as well, who is currently running P15. Second is Jan Bernier. This lap is not going to trouble his previous best time. So Jan will go again now, I would think, to try and wrestle away that provisional P1 from Mitchell Green. It's going to be a big ask.
Look at the difference in line there between those two on track, and you can see just Bernier straightens the car up out of turn 1 into turn 2 and dives on the brake later and harder.
Okay.
You see the nose come down, whereas in front just a little bit more lock through the two corners, carrying a windy line through those first 2 turns.
I think, if memory serves me, Bruce Cleveland comes from originally Petaluma, just up the road here. He loves this place, and of course he'll have family and guests here. And Robin Road, his wife, will be here as well, I'm sure. Bruce Cleveland then, great driver in the 1:58 car. He's 6th fastest at the moment in the Shell qualifying. It's still Mitchell Green P1. Jan Bernier, we think, is chasing this time around, but it is Green from Bernier, from Vittel, from Bilicek, then it is Ott. They are the top 5 at the moment. And across the top 5 drivers or so, there's about a 1.5 seconds across them. So it is quite close, but we have critically got only 2.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, as Michael Chen just goes 7th fastest.
Whittle in P3 was fastest lap was the last lap with that 1:33.559, but only some 9,000ths of a second off the car in front of Bernier. So it was a good lap by Whittle, and if he's got a bit of space, remember Bernier was tucked up in a bit of traffic, and that might be a chance to overlap and get onto the front row.
Here comes Gary Ott then. He's currently 5th fastest with a 1:34.018. This looks like a reasonable lap from Gary Ott, who didn't have traffic to trouble him, and he crosses the timing line but stays P5.
Yeah, went a couple of tenths quicker, but needs to go a few more.
I wonder if Mitchell's parked the car. Just see an S across our timing screen, which means he's stopped. So with a 1:32.142, and I mean, it is quite a margin, 1.4 seconds. Does he feel he's done as much as he can do in that car? So Mitchell Green then, Jan Bernier, Chuck Whittle. This is Alberto Duran. Alberto and his son are racing in the Ferrari Challenge. His best lap of 1:36.871. Let's see what Alberto can do in terms of improvement in these 296 Challenge car that he is driving for the team that engineers, if you will, because behind every driver is that team, as I mentioned, that look after those drivers. And the 164 car is engineered by The Collection. Forgive me, Andrew, waffling on.
That's all right, mate. Mike Chen went up a position into P7 ahead of Brad Evans. Just a little bit of a gap between those two. Couple of tenths quick up by Chen. But that is a huge gap out front.
Yeah.
1.4 seconds is a chasm of time. Oh, and somebody spanned down at turn 7. It's the double right-hander.
Yeah, just called that at the bottom of the picture, didn't we? So, yeah, whether that will impact things, I don't think so. It is the 199 car of John Lennon.
He's knocked the tyre off the rim. So the right left tyre he's managed to knock off the rim. So he's I would say he's collected something. You can see the Pirelli branding's missing. So he's folded the tyre off the side of the rim, unfortunately, with coming into contact with something. And
Gary Ott has just gone 2nd fastest. Forgive me interrupting you.
Not at all. I'd park that if I was him. It's 10 seconds to go. You're not going to do any. No, don't give the team any more work. So just get it parked up, and they'll get that ready for race 1 of the season later on today. And that's qualifying coming to a close.
So just as we were watching that, and you were describing nicely how that tyre had been unpeeled from the rim, Gary Ott went 2nd fastest. So the closing stages of this qualifying session, is this going to be a good lap then from the car of Joe Sposato? The Ferrari of Beverly Hills driver is heading towards the timing line now. Target is a 1:32.142, and he delivers a 1:36, and that remains P17 then for him in class. So Mitchell Green, Gary Ott, Jan Bernier, Chuck Whittle are the top 4 at the moment. Anyone that's on a hot lap can, of course, complete the lap, even though the clock has counted down to 0 and the checkered flag has come out on the session. But at the moment, I am tempted to say that no one is going to better the time of Mitchell Green. Where did he find 1.3 seconds, Andrew Coley? That's a big, big margin up against really good drivers like Gary Ott and Jan Bernier and Chuck Whittle.
Yeah, early in the session as well, relatively speaking. It's only a 12-minute session. Is it 10.5 by the time we had the red flag done? But literally, it was get the tyres up to temperature and smash in a great lap.
Chuck Whittle then, in the final stages, went P2.
0.8, so managed to find a half second over Ott. You say the gap was 1.3 to the leader, it's now 0.8, so they get it on the front row right at the last second.
This is why it's critical that I always say that the session is not over, even though the checkered flag has come out. And clearly, Chuck Whittle was on a hot lap, which I'd not picked up on, and he delivered a 1:32.971, so got within 8 and a bit tenths of Mitchell Green. So that has changed the front row of the grid. Gary Ott and Jan Bernier now relegated to P3 and P4 from that qualifying session. So Mitchell Green then, the Ferrari Westlake driver, who parked the car, and he was wise to do that, put some life into the tyres, if you will, or keep some life in those tyres for when it comes to race. I mean, even 8.5 tenths, Andrew, that's a big margin. So Nina Jade will be down there. In fact, he's down there right now as we speak with our pole sitter. Well done, Mitchell Green.
Mitchell Green, as you just said, lap of your life. Walk us through it.
Crazy. I got very lucky. We, we're getting used to in these things red flags during our sessions, and I was able to get by 2 guys the first time. Came back in, sat in the pits, and waited, and I just had a plan, and it was like the lap of my life. I've never driven that fast here. second season doing this. Great team with Scuderia Corsa, and again, I got lucky because I got an open track, and I bet a bunch of the other guys got stuck in traffic. So, first race of the season, and gonna be a fun season in Shell.
You said you got lucky, but you set some strong times in the practice sessions yesterday as well. Do you think there's more on the table, or were you pushing 100%?
I was pushing. I was like a laugh of my life. I've never run that fast here.
And what's the plan for the race? Manage the pace or push hard?
Manage the pace and finish the race, and hopefully we get a clean race without red flags, yellow flags, and everything. So it'll be fun.
Will go well, Mitchell. Best of luck.
I've never been pole, so this is awesome. I'm
Congratulations.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitchell.
Thanks so much.
Well, there you go. Look, Eric Marston goes and congratulates. And this is what I was saying about the camaraderie there is within the Ferrari Challenge. Eric Marston, of course, last year's Shell champion, goes across and congratulates. Mitchell Green, pole position. Chuck Whittle, P2. Gary Ott, P3. Then it was Jan Bernier, Jarrett Bilijek. They're going to be two drivers to watch. Brad Evans, Bruce Cleveland. Well done, Bruce. Mike Chen, P8. The first 4 rows of our Coppa Shell drivers. Then it was Lisa Clark. Well done, Lisa. Good quali from Lisa Clark. Kevin Orsini, John Lennon, Osvaldo Gaia, Roy Carroll, Richard Pineda, and Brian Waltersdorf then occupying the next positions. Ahead of Andrew Parker, Joe Sposato, Alberto Duran, Ed Vortigan, and Henry Hummel, unfortunately, will be starting from the back of the pack. He was not able to set a time during that qualifying session. So from Andrew and from myself and from Nina Jade as well, thank you for watching qualifying. Please make sure you join us for what are going to be scintillating races this afternoon.